A man had just drilled lightly through the ice, causing a disaster that destroyed half of America. At this moment, the ground made a cracking sound. Before the man could react, he sank into the glacier. Luckily, the field his team appeared in time to save his life, but the samples that had been collected with great difficulty were left on the opposite sides, hiding the reason why the iceberg cracked. A meteorological expert jumped out, passed without saying a word, although he had the image of a strong protagonist aura. When he wanted to turn back and found that the crack was getting bigger, he didn't flinch and mustered up the courage to jump back. But he did not expect that before he could stand firmly, the ice under his feet cracked just as his teammates thought he was dead and discovered that the axe that had helped the book stick tightly to the ice wall when he climbed up the ice surface had torn the crack. The entire Antarctic. He had no idea that a bigger disaster was quickly coming. A few days later, bad luck struck on his head on a normal day that saw only egg-sized hailstones falling from the sky and uncomfortably wreaking havoc on the streets of Tokyo with extreme precision, allowing it to leave no one behind. Nuclear waste dumping on why extreme weather occurs so often. Enlightenment gives the answer at the hearing on global warming. According to his research, uncontrolled human waste is causing temperatures to go beyond control. If we do not take action, the Earth will enter the next glacial age. At this time, humanity will be completely wiped out. However, the US president believes that this is not too dangerous. He will not pay the price for an economic recession because of an unverifiable prediction. At this time, he is never thinking that an unprecedented disaster would strike him that would immediately teach him how to behave. The flocks of birds in the sky all flew in one direction. The captured animals became inexplicably restless. Even the director of the gas department, the statue who was preparing to exercise, was also so scared by the scene before him that his arm was clenched. 3 powerful tornadoes devastated Los Angeles with no one left alive wherever it was. Watch over those who didn't know the truth, ran away into the street. The reporter from a major television station was reporting on the scene despite the unexpected storm. Before he could finish speaking, he was logged out of the Earth server. You might say that high-rise buildings in America are very sturdy. Sure, it's true that the building is stable after the conversion, but look at this person's reaction. The tragic situation in the city finally attracted the attention of the level leadership of the United States. They organized a raid, emergency meeting to speculate based on the latest data obtained that extreme weather will not stop, but become more and more severe. He hopes senior leaders will evacuate people immediately. But how can they care? To the life and death of the common people. But in his helplessness, Jack had to contact his son Peter because Manhattan, where he was located, was about to become the next target of an unexpected disaster. As soon as he spoke, disaster struck. 3 helicopters were flying through the clouds in the sky. Suddenly the control panel became unreadable and ice began to con on the surface of the aircraft. Even the high-speed rotating rotos froze and the aircraft crashed too. The remaining plane also encountered ice problems that quickly formed in the BAN. This caused the plane to quickly lose power and crash into the ice within a few minutes when the surviving soldier opened the cabin door. A scene that is still horrifying. The news of the accident quickly spread, and based on the results, he was so scared that he got goosebumps because a huge storm cloud was forming and his son Peter was there. At the center of this storm, what tragedy caused the Russian warship to appear on the street of New York? After forcing the bus into a population, it stopped moving forward. At first, everyone thought it was just a storm. They don't know that what awaits them is an unprecedented super tsunami. Peter is in New York and will become the first target of the tsunami. Passerby are now running in confusion. He escaped to a higher place, but Peter rushed towards the tsunami just because the person he wanted to save was Tina, whom he had always dreamed of seeing. A big wave coming towards her. Fortunately, the 2 of them successfully escaped, arriving at the Liberty at a critical time. Those who had not yet had time to flee were transformed into new members of heaven within a few minutes by the devastating tsunami. In just a few moments, most of New York City was submerged. Luckily, the people hiding in the library are still safe for now. And Peter's bravery to save people also won Tina heart. The first thing he has to do now is contact his father. Sleep, a meteorologist. This is the only way to keep his girlfriend. Was that he was lucky. He called his father's phone number, but the answer he received was that he could only stay where he was and definitely not leave the library because the high temperature of -300 degrees was approaching them. Before their father could finish speaking, Peter was submerged in sea water. Next to her, she was very worried. Just when she thought her boyfriend had drowned, Peter suddenly surfaced and saw his friend Tina didn't hesitate to use her body heat to keep him warm. This made Peter immediately feel an unprecedented joy. Just as the 2 were preparing for a deeper conversation, then Husky in the sudden library suddenly started barking. Then everyone realized that there were raindrops falling out there. It seemed like the next severe cold spell was coming. The next day, the water flowing into the city had already closed and survivors began to appear on the street, and they all had the same goal of migrating to the south. This scene immediately caused everyone in the library to stir. Under the leadership of the manager, they were about to walk out of the library. However, Peter tried his best to stop it because he firmly believed in his father's words. The upcoming cold wave would make everyone freeze to death outside, but he didn't expect that no one would believe what he said. He could only watch helplessly. Everyone left, and On had to give up trying to avoid The harsh cold next, they gathered in a room with a stove. Peter threw the book into the stove for repair without saying a word, causing the bookstore owner to immediately turn a deaf ear, but let to survive. They could only rely on books to warm themselves. Then they gathered all the available materials and successfully survived the first night. However, those outside were not so lucky and could not go yet, hundreds of meters away. Most people were covered in lightning or injured. At the same time, bad news also arrived. Initially there was only one storm cloud, now it has turned into 3 storms. What is even more terrifying is that the Earth will enter an ice age. After just one more week to prevent his son from turning into an ice cream cone, he made a decision that went against his ancestor. The man had a premonition that something strange was about to happen. Giant waves crow hundreds of meters frozen by the cold water. The American flag symbolizing freedom suddenly stopped. The scene before his eyes made the man run away because above his head was the eye of the storm, covering nearly half of the earth under the momentum of his thought. At this absolute zero, the Empire State Building had long stood strong and trembled in the cold wind. In just a short period of time, New York City turned into a world of ice and snow. Fortunately, the man hid in the ventilation duct, but the cold air didn't want to give him a chance to breathe, so he quickly burned everything to get warm. Now he only prayed that the fire would save him from turned into an ice cream once, and slippers from this could to save his child. He didn't know that his son Peter was with his girlfriend. Discovered the mysteries of the body resulted in the next day his girlfriend had a high that wouldn't go away. But not a single pill was found in the entire library. Hospital. To save his girlfriend, Peter had a bold idea. He wanted to find medicine on the warship outside. But as soon as he entered the boat, several hungry wolves smelled their tracks as the 3 of Peter went deeper and deeper. They quickly found the medical room, but the door was locked from the inside. In desperation, Peter had no other choice but to take the axe, despite the cold outside, to break in through the window. Fortunately, they were quick. Find the medicine they need so that this trip won't be in vain. They planned to bring more food back, but at that moment an accident happened. Even though the wolves were temporarily locked up, the outside temperature was plumbing. They also allowed them to just delay so they could get out alive. Peter decided to lure the wolves away alone. Sure enough, they fell into the trap and frantically chased them out. The moment Peter was caught up, the hungry wolf hit the car. Glasses made in China. Peter breathed a sigh of relief. His companion inside took the time to fill up on food, but time was running out for them. They hadn't gone far before the harsh cold of minus 300 degrees had already passed. As it came, it was burning everything at a speed that could be seen with the naked eye. Luckily, Peter and the others were all agile and successfully returned to the library at the last moment. The stove had now become talisman. They were forced to do their best to burn all the books, but they didn't know if this thing could withstand the extreme cold or not. Luckily, they survived and continued moving towards the library despite the wind. Snow looked at the bodies, frozen into an ice cream cone on the ground. A ray of despair rose in his heart, but fortunately there was good news from the space station. The storm that raged for a week finally dissipated when he woke up and saw the scene again, once again rekindling hope in him. The long-lost sunlight shined on the giant ship. The Statue of Liberty was also completely free, and only New York City was still a quiet area following the final instructions. Also to the library. How far is to get to the library based on satellite navigation? It's under our feet. We don't believe our son will turn into an ice cream. Mr. Meng ran to a higher place and finally found the way. When entering the library, he discovered that there was no trace of life. There was only a bright door that attracted his attention. He didn't know if his child was still alive or not. He could only worry and turn around. Fortunately, the refugee in the room did not freeze to death, who was his father. Father and son hugged each other tightly. Jack finally fulfilled his promise. Soon after, the rescue team arrived in New York, boarding a helicopter Xian XE. However, when they looked around New York, they discovered that they were not the only survivors. Seeing the boy who liked to cling to his girlfriend had a happy smile. A disaster had finally come to end perfectly. The earth also become cleaner than ever. Indeed, only when faced with disaster do people realize how insignificant they are. This is the end of the movie. Everyone remember to like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss new movie. Bye bye.